I wanted to just remind us how we lead, because this is where it went, okay? This is how we know we're leading, all right? How do we lead? And I broke it down in an acronym, okay? Lead, L. We love people by moving them through necessary tensions and towards their maximum potential. So that's L. We love people. It's not for the way you look at me. It's for how you lead people, okay? I thought that was funnier than you gave me credit for, okay? I pay them to laugh at my jokes. Okay. I love people. If I'm not loving people, I'm not leading people. Then I'm just getting bitter. I'm getting frustrated. You don't have to love everything about everybody, and you don't have to like everybody. And you don't have to like everybody at all times. But if there's not love in your heart, you're not leading. We're loving people, and how we love them is we're moving them. This is what discipleship is. We're moving them through necessary tensions towards their maximum potential. Okay, that's L. E. I think E is this. We're equipping equippers. We're equipping equippers. We're not just getting one person to do something. That's delegation. Delegation is the start of leadership. It is not the proof of leadership. We're equipping equippers by facilitating healthy environments of reproduction. Now you're making disciples. Now it's moving beyond you. I'm equipping someone who now equips someone. You've not made a disciple. You've not developed a leader until the person that you've equipped has now equipped somebody. This is why Passyunk and our fourth location is so important. It's why the fourth location is the most important location in any multi-site organization. This is what I believe. And a little bit in what I'm reading and studying. Why Passyunk is so important is because Port Richmond, in a sense, birthed Center City. Port Richmond birthed the Northeast. Port Richmond birthed the Mesquite House Church, okay? But Center City is now birthing Passyunk. When Passyunk succeeds and survives, and and their succession really at the end of the day is going to be a couple years in the making, and it's going to be when they reproduce. But Center City surviving this and growing from it, we're doing it. 4 then turns into 10. And 10 turns into 30. Do you understand how important this this is no games like this, and it's why we've been slow. It's why we've pulled back. It's why we said, Holy Spirit, help us here. It's why I many a times came to them and said, I don't think we can do it. We shouldn't do it. Fear. But I just have to go back to the fact that, okay, am I equipping equippers by facilitating healthy environments of reproduction? And this is us reproducing. This is us. And so for this to work, it's got to be God, but it also has to be us loving people and equipping equippers. So the best thing I heard all night, somebody, I can't remember exactly who it was. Somebody said the greeter team. Who was it? Cassie? The Cassie greeter team has now created leaders, 2 more leaders. The goal is not for you to keep good people on your team. The goal is for you to develop good people and get them out of your team. So now you've got people who are a pain in the neck until they're not. And then you raise them up, and the second they become not a pain in the neck, I'm sending them out. Or they're taking over for me and I'm moving on to something stronger, bigger, higher. A, it's addressing blind spots and weak points while also they're illuminating strengths and clarifying organizational goals. So we're addressing blind spots. Forgive the bad grammar. Sharon didn't read over it. Addressing blind spots. And that's a blind spot. Addressing blind spots and weak points while illuminating strengths and clarifying organizational goals. So when we're leading, we're always going back to ourselves going, okay, what are my blind spots? I have other people in my life. I'm addressing this. And then I'm always going back to the goal of the organization, making sure that I'm on mission. I'm always saying I'm open to correction. I'm open to discipline. I'm flexible. I'm willing to change this, right? I'm open to all this, and then I'm going back. Am I staying on mission? Am I on brand, so to speak? Okay? And then D, we're dreaming the impossible and we're influencing others around the mission of the dream. So if dreaming the impossible, and if the impossible is not a part of our dream, then it's not a God dream. And it's not big enough yet. And if it doesn't scare us, and if it doesn't make us go, oh my goodness, we have to inspire people to do it, then we're not leading with enough vision. We're dreaming the impossible and we're influencing others around the mission of the dream. So let's review. How do we lead? We love people by moving them through necessary tensions and towards their maximum potential. We're equipping equippers by facilitating healthy environments of reproduction. We're addressing blind spots and weak points, while also we're illuminating strengths and clarifying organizational goals. We're coming back. We're saying, okay, are these areas still a part of this? Is it extra fat that we need to remove? We got to clarify that. We're having tough conversations. And then finally, we're dreaming the impossible and we're influencing others around the mission. That's how we lead. Is it a God dream? That's how we lead within a God dream. Now, I love to teach. How much time do I have? 15 minutes? I have 20 minutes for you? Until you? 15 minutes. All right. So with all that in mind, I want to teach a little bit of a lesson, basically, I want to call it, does it hurt yet? Does it hurt yet? And I have a few thoughts with lead in mind. This is how we lead. I have a few thoughts that we need to ask ourselves, okay? Leadership is about change, and change equals pain, okay? So the first question is, have I evolved? Have I changed lately? Have I evolved? Have I changed lately? Because leadership is about change, and change equals pain. Look at how many times have we had to change as an organization? Here's what happens in the church. Pastor Greg and I were talking about this. Here's what happens in the church. He has a daughter. He was telling me, he goes, my daughter, when she was growing up, she'd sit on my lap. She'd kiss me on the lips. She would tell me she loved me. When she was like a baby, 3, 4, 5, toddler, whatever. He said, but when she got to about 7 years old, 8 years old, it wasn't kissing me on the lips anymore. She wasn't sitting on my lap like she was anymore. There had to be some change. If there wasn't change, this is weird, right? And the way that he was explaining it was, I thought this was powerful. He's like, a lot of times in the church, people get uncomfortable because they want the baby to stay the baby. We want to know everybody. We want to be comfortable. We want to be intimate with everybody. We need all this stuff. And but that's bad parenting. Parenting has to help evolve and grow the child. Here's what good parents do. He said this at team conference. Here's what good parents do. Good parents want their kids, healthy parents want their kids to do way more and exceed way higher than they did. That's when I want my kid to do better than me. And not in a way where we live vicariously through them, but I want my kid to go further. But if I stunt their growth by trying to keep them a baby, now my relationship has changed. So it's like, whereas before we could be intimate with people, we could be close, we could proverbially sit on each other's laps, okay? But now it's like, if that little girl kept sitting on the lap and kissing the lips, the older she got, the weirder it would be. And like, if we just keep and suppress the church that way, the church never grows. There's got to come a point where we don't know everybody. It's got to come a point where even people on your teams that you're leading, you're reaching and leading through those other people. Have you evolved your methods, your meetings, your schedule? Are you changing? If you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, we're suppressing the baby. We're suppressing the church, which was never the intention of Jesus, ever. As the year ended, I felt very compelled and very convicted to build, Lauren and I, a home office. I want to correct myself. Lauren built the office. I had the vision. But I felt like we needed something that the coffee shops for me, after 5, 6 years, I just needed a place I could come, I could pray. And the other night, Grace was still gone. I was like, just at the end of Grace being gone. That's the best way I can say it. And all the workload and everything. And I just went to, it was 10 or 11 o'clock. And I was just like, I have my space. And I went to the basement and I put on music as loud as I wanted. And I prayed and I walked around and I marched and I did everything I needed to do. And at the end of it, I was just like, man, I'm so glad I made this change. And it could be little things, but leaders evolve. Leaders keep changing. They don't change necessarily their mission, but they evolve their methods. Okay. Here's the second thing. Leadership is about development, and development takes time. A lack of quality for a season of development is painful, but sometimes it's necessary. So number 2, are you really development driven? I'm not saying that I want a lack of quality, but sometimes as you're developing people, I'll give an example, maybe the creative team. They're developing people. Well, nobody can take a picture as good as whomever. But if they're developing somebody and the picture's a little bit less quality, but they made 2 people, it's worth it. So here's what I'm saying. Luke chapter 8, Jesus is doing his ministry. Luke chapter 9, his disciples are doing his ministry. Okay. Matthew 17:16, the disciples bring a son to the followers and they couldn't heal him. And Jesus does it himself, and then he teaches why they couldn't do it. Hey guys, only some things can come through fasting and prayer. Okay, only some things. So he teaches them. So here's what we do. This is how it works. You should write this down. I do, you watch, we talk. This is from Craig Rochelle. I do, you help, we talk. You do, I help, we talk. You do, I watch, we talk. You do, someone else watches. All right, I'm going to read it again. Okay, this is the Jesus model. This is not the Joey model. It's really not even the Craig Rochelle model. This is the Jesus model. I do, you watch, we talk. I do, you help, we talk. You do, I help, we talk. You do, I watch, we talk. You do, someone else watches. Here's what I'm saying. Excellence doesn't mean perfection. Don't get it twisted. Excellence could mean short-term pain for long-term gain. Everybody get that? I'm not saying put out a lazy effort. I'm saying put out an excellent effort. And sometimes the quality of excellence doesn't always look the way that we think it should. If you're developing someone and you're coming back and saying, okay, let's talk about it. You misspelled the word. Here's where you can improve. Here's what we can talk about. Then that's excellence, especially if they improve. All right? Number 3, healthy leadership is more about fighting for good culture than it is for fighting for filled positions, and that hurts. Sometimes as a leader, you got to do 2 or you got to do more work to step in and fix culture for a season. So the number 3, are you married to good culture or good attendance? I just think about like Peter going, get behind me, Satan. Like, could he have lost Peter in that moment? Maybe. But Jesus needed good culture more than he needed good attendance. So it's like, all right, like, dude, you're the devil. Get behind me. I feel like if I told somebody that, that's the last time I'd see them. Maybe. But you know what I'm saying. And but culture is more important than having fact. Does that make sense? It's like I'm learning what I'm eating is more important than how much I'm eating. And if I eat the right things over time, some of the other stuff that I used to want, I only want a little bit of it or I don't want much of it at all. Eventually, good culture is going to produce good attendance. So, We have to know what the culture should be, and we have to memorize it, which means we've got to memorize our values. And if I had more time, I'd walk through this room and see if everybody knew the values. And I'd start with the staff. This is a little bit of what we do with worship, just so you know. What we do with worship is there's a culture and there's a standard. If you cannot play to this standard, we believe that worship, it really is it's like the preaching. It's really important. It's opening up the hearts. So, but also, there are just some people that don't want to flow with the way that things go, and they just didn't make it, or they just won't make it. Have you noticed that we don't have any guitar players, like electric guitar players? I mean, could we really push ourselves and stretch ourselves to make that happen? But it just doesn't seem like the kind of guitar players that we've connected with or that have come around, it would fit culturally. So I'd rather just put it in the track and have some people who want to be up there. And so all I'm saying is, I'm not saying go around your teams and kick everybody out, okay? That's not what I'm suggesting, okay? I am saying you want to fight for good culture. You want to fight for your values. You want to fight for the things that matter most. That's the main thing, the mission first. Finally, leadership is about love, and true love comes with pain. Come on, anybody? True love comes with pain, and leadership is about love. So the fourth question, and the most important question, is, have you loved those you lead like this? Do you really love the people you lead, or are they a means to an end? And I'm not saying that you won't be frustrated with people or angry at times. I'm not saying that you won't need to tell people to get behind you, Satan. I'm not saying that you won't have intense conversation or have conflict. Love is bigger than that. And sometimes love calls for that. Okay, but do you love the people that you're leading? Is love in your heart? If love is not in your heart, something is wrong with you. You need to go to God. You need to get stirred up. You need to ask the Holy Spirit, why am I having a problem loving people? Like, God, you loved me. God, you were graceful to me. God, you had mercy on me. God, you gave me second chances. I'm not saying people won't frustrate you. But we need to dig deep as leaders. If we feel called to be leaders, we got to dig deep and love people. Jesus literally goes to the cross for those he loves and those he leads, even though we hated him. When's the last time you cried for those you lead? If someone you've invested in hasn't broken your heart a bit, I'm not sure you're investing deep enough. Look at Peter. I mean, when Jesus needed him the most, he's out here denying him. I mean, you think a planning center decline is bad? I mean, Jesus, Jesus poured everything into Peter, and then he denies him in the moment he needs him the most. And Jesus gives him a heads up, maybe don't deny me. You're gonna, he still does it. And he still dies for him. And he still gives Peter the keys to be the lead after he leaves. But you don't want to love people because they won't do something you want them to do when you want to. Do you understand how hard leadership is? You can't be a leader if you're prideful. You can, but you just will hate yourself and hate it. I could give a bunch of examples. We're leading with each other. I think my favorite moment, maybe one of my favorite moments of our church, was on Saturday at team conference when we cheered for Grace. But before that, I would watch my wife get on the phone with Grace during this season with her mom, and I'd watch my wife cry and pray with and weep for Grace, and then get off the phone and then do that with me, which was fun. And then just still broken about it, and like sending me like Instagram stories of other people going through the same thing. And I'm like, please stop, But I was like, man, I just like, I know they're very close, but I just wish some of that would permeate down into our church, right? But I just, whatever, it's in the caverns of my brain, like it's there, but like, are we really fostering that sort of culture of love and unity? Well, Saturday, when Grace got up to talk, and she barely could get words out, and at the team conference, I mean, when the standing ovation and clapping for minutes, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in church before. It was my favorite moment I've ever had as the lead pastor of the Block Church, because it was just like love, and I just felt God's smile over us in that moment. But we got to guard that. We got to fight for it, and we got to love people like that, even the people that make us crazy. And maybe Grace has made some of you crazy, and you still loved her. But we've got to be that invested in people. Can't be everybody. The baby's going to grow. We can't know everybody. We got to be okay with not knowing everybody and the baby growing, and us not be, as intimate with each other as we were. Like we've got to want to see the church be way bigger and way more effective than when we first started in the place that we were in. When you start to feel like, I don't have a relationship with pastor or with leader like I used to, because I keep expanding in my leadership. And I'm not saying you don't get mentorship. I'm not saying that you don't, have other people covering you. But it just, if it's not evolving and growing, and you're not okay with that, then you got to check your heart. So does it hurt yet? That's the question. It's got to hurt. It's got to hurt because it makes us be more like Jesus in our leadership, because it hurt all the time. And I'm not saying you won't enjoy. I'm not saying you won't celebrate. I'm not saying you won't have great seasons of fun. But man, leadership has to hurt a little bit. Because if you're not hurting, you're not changing. If you're not changing, you're not growing. All right, let me pray for us. And with the 7 minutes left, these girls are going to kick some butt. I can't wait for this. Father, help us. Break our heart for what breaks yours, and help us lead your people in a way that you are pleased. In Jesus' name, amen.